Hi besties, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Rachel, and welcome to my 24-hour readathon reading vlog. You guys, it has been far too long since I've done a 24-hour readathon. Oh my god, I have not done one in the year of 2024 yet, which is crazy because I did so many last year, I did so many the year before. I took a little bit of a break from them, but I am so excited to be doing one this weekend. So for the 24-hour readathon, the plan is essentially to read as many books as I can in a 24-hour period. However, I am going to be doing the 12 and 12 method. That is a method that I have done before that just really works for me if you're not familiar with it. Essentially, I am breaking up the 24 hours into 2 days. So today is Friday when I'm filming this, and I'm going to start the 24-hour readathon tomorrow morning. So let's say I start at 6 a.m. I'm going to read as much as I can from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then I'm going to take a little break, let my mind relax a little bit, and then we are going to wake up on Sunday and do the same thing all over again. So I will start on Sunday morning and then I will stop Sunday night 12 hours later. I feel like this is the best of both worlds because that is definitely still very challenging to read as many books as you can in 2 12-hour periods back to back, but it does give my brain some time to reset, relax. I can form coherent thoughts for you all. Really, it's just a win-win situation for everyone. So I'm really looking forward to starting tomorrow morning. Let's talk about the TBR that I have set for this weekend. As always, this TBR is not set in stone, but I do have some books that I'm very much looking forward to, and I do think that I'm going to start with tomorrow morning. So let's talk about my potential TBR for this weekend. All right, first up, we have Evocation by S.T. Gibson. I'm really looking forward to this book. It's on my June TBR, and I knew that it was a book that I wanted to prioritize because I love S.T. Gibson's writing. A Dowry of Blood, which is another book by this author, is one of my favorite books of all time. I think it is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm really hoping that I fall in love with this book just as much. This book has a lot going on. We have secret societies, we have exes to rivals to lovers, we have polyamory, we have the devil, we have a New England setting. Everything about this book sounds absolutely fantastic. There's mystery involved. I think that this book is going to be such a good time. Really looking forward to S.T. Gibson's gorgeous writing. I love the way that she does romance, and I cannot wait to meet our characters. Another book on my TBR for this weekend is Curse of the Thorn King by Lisette Marshall. So this book has the stunning trope of I'm supposed to kill you, but our main character is an assassin, and her final mission is to kill the king of the fairy. When she attempts to do this, he ends up taking her as his captive, and they have a little enemies to lovers romance. I'm really looking forward to it. This book is also pretty short, which is great for a 24-hour readathon. I always try to pick out shorter books to read during 24-hour readathons so I can read as much as possible. I think that this book sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I have read one other book by this author, and that was Court of Blood and Bindings. It was okay. It was like a 3.5 star moment. I didn't continue on with that series, but I am really looking forward to picking up something else by this author. Another book that I may want to pick up this weekend is Peaches and Honey by R. Rita. Once again, another shorter book, and it has a very similar premise to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I think is a really cool storyline, so I'm excited to see what this book is all about. And then a couple more books that I'm thinking about picking up this weekend. They are actually in the mail, and they're supposed to arrive tomorrow morning, so fingers crossed that they do. If those books arrive, I do think I'm going to read at least one of them this weekend. The first one is Five Broken Blades by Mai Corland. I have been seeing this book absolutely everywhere, and I've heard it compared to Six of Crows. I love Six of Crows so much. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I do get a little bit nervous when people compare things to Six of Crows, but I'm willing to be open-minded. I have seen some praise for this book. I've also seen some people saying it's not all that, so we'll see. The reviews are mixed, but I want to give it a shot. Also, I was so shocked, but I went and checked my Libby app, and my library had the audiobook available, which is crazy because my library never has super popular audiobooks available, but it did. I put a hold on that, so I have the audiobook, and the book should arrive tomorrow morning. Another book that I might want to pick up this weekend that is also on the way is Savor It by Tara DeWitt. So this is a contemporary romance. I do like to shake up the genres that I read throughout the weekend in a 24-hour readathon. It just helps to keep things fresh, and this book recently came out, and I've seen a ton of buzz for it. I know that it is small town. I believe it takes place in Oregon, and I did see a few people compare it to Gilmore Girls as far as the characterization, which is the greenest flag ever for me. And also Scribd has the audiobook, so that is definitely a potential as well. And then other than that, who knows? We will see where the wind blows us this weekend. Overall, my June TBR, I have mostly longer books, but there is definitely potential for me to pick up something like The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee that is not too long, or maybe Thrown in the Dark by A.K. Caggiano. That is a bit of a shorter fantasy romance as well. Also, tomorrow is the beginning of a Romantasy-a-thon, which is very exciting, so I definitely want to read as much fantasy romance as possible so I can hit those prompts for the reading challenge. All that being said, we're gonna have a great weekend, besties. I am so excited for this. I'm feeling very motivated. It's also gonna be really great to do this on the very first weekend of June. I'm gonna kick off my reading month very strong, read a bunch of books, hopefully have some new favorites. I need a 5-star. I don't know if we're gonna get a 5-star this weekend, but I've only had 4 5-stars this year, not counting rereads, of course, and I need them. So we are going into the weekend with all the positive vibes, and I'm just really looking forward to challenging myself this weekend and reading as much as possible. And of course, sharing every single thought that pops into my head with you guys. So that is it for me today, but I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning once my 24-hour readathon has officially started. friends, happy Saturday. So as you guys saw in the b-roll, I started this portion of the 24-hour readathon at 6:30 a.m. this morning, so I will be reading until 6:30 p.m. tonight. I have already made a ton of progress on my first book. It is currently 10:18, so we are almost 4 hours into this 12 hours of reading, and we need to discuss my thoughts on Evocation by S.T. Gibson. So as I said, I'm about 70% of the way through, and I am enjoying this book. I'm liking it. I don't know if I'm overly obsessed with any aspect of the book, but I have generally positive feelings. I don't know, I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I feel about like the plot line in general, but we have some really great characters in this book. So we have Rhys, David, and Moira. We get all three of their POVs, which is great. Rhys and Moira are married, David and Rhys are exes, and then in this book, we have them kind of reigniting a flame between them, and then Moira and David sort of falling for one another. And the main plotline of this book is the three of them team up because David is contacted by some like demonic entity / the devil, and he finds out about this like ancestral deal that his family made, and he needs to discover how does this involve him, what trouble does this spell for him, how can he get out of it, etc. David and Rhys are also a part of the secret society that plays a big part in this book, and we've met some characters from there as well who I really enjoy. As far as the plot of this book goes, I like the setup and I love like the idea of all of that, but I am finding the execution of this book to just be a little bit boring for me. We do a lot of talking. This is definitely a character-driven story, which I really like character-driven stories. In fact, I feel like I prefer character-driven stories, but I don't know, there's something about this book that I wish that the plot was a little bit more beefed up. It's really more focused on the characters and their feelings and their dynamics, which is interesting enough, but not so intriguing that I'm like dying to turn to the next page and see what happens in the next chapter. The romance I think is well done. It's definitely slow burn, and it's been fun to see David and Rhys sort of be there for each other and build a friendship, and then also Moira and David become close because in the beginning of the book they are definitely like not good with one another. I think that the romance is the best part of this book. I think it's well done, it's slow burn, I'm enjoying the way that everything is coming together, but the plot, I don't know, it's just not really doing a lot for me. I feel like they're not actually doing a whole lot. There have been a few scenes where we get some progress and we look more into what does this ancestral deal entail, but I'm just not very excited by it. So like, I'm enjoying this book. This isn't like, oh my god, it's really hard to get through or I'm regretting reading it, but I think that I just wanted a little bit more, and I'm finding this book to be just fine. So that is where I'm at with this book. I'm 70% of the way through. This is the first book in a series, so I'll be curious to see how does it end, and maybe things will kind of get exciting towards the latter part of this book. I was really hoping to be obsessed with this like from the beginning, because when I read A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, truly from like the first couple pages, I was like, oh yeah, this is a 5-star. I am in love. I will say the writing of this book is definitely different from A Dowry of Blood. A Dowry of Blood is very flowery, it is poetic at times. This is a lot less flowery. It's still very pretty writing, and I think the writing is really great, but it's a lot more just kind of modern, straightforward, literary fiction almost. I also want to say, I think that I went into this thinking it would be more like fantasy romance adjacent, something like that, or like paranormal romance adjacent. This feels more like literary fiction with some magical realism. So if you're planning on going into this, definitely have that mindset. I don't know why I thought it would be more fantastical, but it really does read like a very modern literary fiction. They live in Boston, they talk about very modern things. There are definitely paranormal elements and magical realism elements, but not as much as I thought there was. So maybe that is where a little bit of my disappointment comes from, but that was me just kind of going in with the wrong impression of the book. But we shall be optimistic. I'm curious to see how it ends. I like our characters. Like, I don't actively dislike anything going on, but I'm not like, oh my god, this book is incredible and I love the plot and this and that. So kind of sitting in the middle right now with Evocation. I'm going to sit down and finish this book, and then I think I'm actually going to hop onto reading sprints with Tori because she is doing kickoff sprints for Romantasy-a-thon, because today is June 1st, so it is the very first day of Romantasy-a-thon. So I think I will hop on there with her, and I'll probably finish this and then start my next book. So I will talk to you guys once I finish this book and picked up my next one. Hello, stunning friends. So time for another reading check-in. I just got off of reading sprints with Tori and Hannah, and that was so great. I was very productive on those sprints. I ended up finishing a book and then starting another. So we're doing amazing, sweetie. It is currently 1:23 in the afternoon. I don't know if you can see that, but that means we're like 7-ish hours into this 12-hour period of reading. And like I said, I finished my first book, which is very exciting. That is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. I think I'm going to settle on a 3-star rating for this book. Overall, I felt bored by the plot line, and while I do think it's a well-written book, I like the characters, I liked their dynamics, I am mildly interested in the like secret society and this ancestral curse. Nothing really just like overwhelmed me with, oh my god, I'm so excited to see what happens next. I felt pretty bored by the actual plot line and how it was executed. I feel like a lot of this book is just focusing on David and like his view of everything that's going on and more just like in his own head, and less so seeing things sort of play out in a way that interests me. Other than the ending, we did have a little bit more of an action-packed plot. I just felt a little bit underwhelmed by this book. Definitely not bad, and I don't regret reading it, but it was just okay, and I don't think that I'm going to continue on with this series. I'm just not really interested enough. So this is a 3-star read for me. Not terrible, but not amazing. All right, and then the next book that I will be reading for this 24-hour readathon is Curse of the Thorn King by Lisette Marshall. This is a very short book. It's like 270 pages, which is lovely, and I'm currently on page 56, so still very much in the beginning, but this book follows our main character, Briannis. She is actually a noblewoman, and she ends up getting arrested in the beginning of the book, and she is told that if she is able to go and kill the King of the Fairy, all the charges will be dropped, and she will be one step closer to securing the life of her dreams. So she takes that offer, and once she goes to the castle to attempt to kill the King of the Fairy, things do not go as planned, and she ends up becoming his captive. There is actually a curse on the Fairy King's castle, and she cannot leave the castle once she has entered it. So her and the King of the Fairy, they are stuck together, forced proximity. We love to see it. And right now they're kind of just getting to know each other, but it does say on the back that the King of the Fae, he does hate humans. So I think he's going to be taking some of that out on Bree. We'll see. Once again, I'm still very early on in it, but I am actually really enjoying this book. It's less of like a fantasy romance and more a romance taking place in a fantasy world. There isn't a ton of world building, and I think that the biggest focus of this book is just going to be the dynamic between our two main characters and that romance. It's also got like a Regency era vibe, and I think that it's going to be more like a romantic fantasy as opposed to a fantasy romance, if that makes sense. But that means it's a perfect selection for the Romantasy-a-thon reading challenge. So this will be my first book towards that reading challenge, which is very exciting. Yeah, generally overall, I am liking this book. I'm excited to see where things are going. The King of the Fairy does have like kind of an interesting background, and he's revealing some things to Bree that she was not aware of. So I'm excited to see how that kind of breaks her worldview and how the two of them are going to interact with one another. Like I said, they're forced into the castle together, which is just absolutely beautiful and stunning. I love that. So I'm really excited to see their dynamic change as they start to get to know one another and fall for each other. So this is really fun. It seems just like a cute, fun time right now. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out, and I will let you guys know what I think as I continue to read it. So I think right now I'm going to go get some food. I need to eat some lunch. I'm going to keep reading Curse of the Thorn King, and then I will talk to you guys later once I have more to say about it. Hey besties, how are we? So it is a little bit after 4 o'clock, so getting close to that 6:30 p.m. end time for today's part of the readathon, but I feel like I'm still thriving. I am a little bit feeling that 6 a.m. wake up at this moment in time, so I feel like I'm thriving. Also feel like I could melt into the floor at any moment. Somewhere in the middle there, that is where I exist. I'm almost done with my second book, and then I'm going to start my third. I won't be able to finish that tonight, but I will just pick that back up tomorrow morning, start another book, maybe read another. Who can possibly say? Tomorrow is a new day, so that is very exciting. I wanted to give you guys one more check-in on Curse of the Thorn King before I finish it, because I am about like 50-60 pages away from the ending, so I wanted to give you guys my thoughts at this point. I am enjoying myself. I think this book is really cute. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I did not realize when I started it, but the signs became very clear once I got further into the book. I also confirmed on Goodreads, and kind of now knowing that in my head as I read this, there's definitely a lot of fairy tale elements, which is very fun. There's also this like magical mirror that our Thorn King consults, and he's like very sassy to the Thorn King, which is really fun. It reminds me of Mort from Throne of Glass, just kind of like that witty banter back and forth, oh you stupid human type of criticism from an inanimate object. Absolutely love that. And as far as the romance goes though, I'm enjoying it, but it was a little bit insta-lovey. I'm not gonna lie. The thing is though, this is a short book, so I'm kind of like, I'm not super mad at it. I mean, if this was like 700 pages and they got together as quickly as they did, that would be a different story. But I do wish that we could have drawn things out a little bit. I feel like we very quickly went from, I'm trying to kill you, and then, oh, maybe we could be friends, to then, why don't we hop into bed together? Like, it all happened fairly quickly. And you know, I'm a slow burn girly. I wish that this was a little bit slower. I'm also curious because I think that this is going to be the first book in a series. So I'm wondering what that means for book 2. Who knows? Maybe we're gonna have like an enemies to lovers to enemies situation. That has been done before. That is a trope that I absolutely love. I won't be telling you guys if that's how it ends because I don't want to spoil anything. But I do just want to warn you if you're interested in picking this book up. I do think that the romance moves pretty quickly, but I still enjoy our characters. The banter between them is very fun and very well written. I think the dialogue in this book is great. There was also a caretaking scene that was really sweet and like had me smiling. And I am not like the caretaking tropes #1 fan. I don't like dislike it, but it's not something I really seek out. I think it was really well done in this book, and what it meant to the characters, particularly our male main character, was just very sweet and very touching. So I liked that. I'm enjoying myself with this book. It's kind of just like a quick, fun time. And like I said in the first check-in, there's not like a ton of world building. It feels much more just like a romance existing in this fantasy world. There is a curse that exists, but a lot of that discussion is a little bit surface level, which is totally fine. That's totally fine. A surface level romance set in a fantasy world is absolutely acceptable. So I am enjoying myself. I don't think this is going to be like a new all-time favorite, but I think it's pretty cute. I am going to go finish this, and then I will let you guys know my final thoughts on this, and I'll let you know what book I'm going to be picking up next just in a little bit. Besties, hello. I have finished book 2. We are 11 hours into this 24-hour readathon. I'm hitting a wall. All good things are happening. But no, I'm excited to give you guys my review. Well, excited is an interesting word. I'm giving this book 3 stars. I'm excited because like I finished the book, yay, go me, knocked a book off the old June TBR. This is a 3-star read, so back-to-back 3 stars. How exciting. It's actually funny, I was thinking about it. I feel like I haven't given a book a 3-star rating in a while. It's been like lots of 4 stars, a few 2 stars, not a 5-star in sight. But the universe was like, you know what, Rachel? We're gonna give you some 3-star books in the month of June. So that has been the theme for today. Hopefully that does not continue on with tomorrow, but a 3-star rating isn't bad. I did not dislike this book. There's actually a lot of cute moments in this book. I just don't feel like a ton for this book. I like the characters. The romance was okay. It was a little bit fast for me. It had some charming moments and some good banter. So as far as this being the first book in a series, I actually feel like the next book might be like following different characters, potentially, question mark. I don't really know, but I'm getting like interconnected standalone vibes because there is some like plotline elements that are left open-ended, but I don't know if these characters are going to be like at the helm in book 2. The title of the next book is at the end, and it doesn't feel like it has anything to do with them. But what do I know? I have no idea. And it was cute. It was fun. It was good. Mr. Perfectly Fine. It's a Joe Jonas of a book. And yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. So let's talk about plans moving forward for the rest of the evening. So as I said, we are 11 hours in, and I'm going to start Thrown in the Dark by A.K. Caggiano. I will be reading this on my Kindle. I don't physically own this book, but this book has the cutest cover. Hopefully I'm like putting it somewhere here. It's pink, it's purple. I love like our 2 main characters, you know, kind of looking very grumpily at each other. I think this is going to be a good time. The ratings for this book are like out of this world amazing. I mean, obviously not every single person loves it, but most of the like front page reviews, and even when I like just click on just general ratings and reviews, there's a ton of 5-star reviews. I have hope. I have all the hope and faith in the world. It is a rom-com fantasy romance, which I am intrigued by, but I don't necessarily know how I'm going to feel about that because I'm pretty picky when it comes to like contemporary romance rom-coms. The humor has to hit a certain way. So I hope that that does happen in this book, but I'm excited. I think this is going to be cute for sure. So I'm looking forward to starting this. I do have the audiobook, but I think I'm just going to read it physically just for like the next hour because I'm a little bit audiobooked out. And then tomorrow morning I will continue on with it and I'll let you guys know my thoughts. We will pick back up right where we left off tomorrow morning, but I think that this is going to be it for me today. I want to go take my makeup off and like put my hair up, maybe take a bubble bath while I read for the next hour on my Kindle. That sounds absolutely lovely. So that's what we're gonna do. So I am going to go, but I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning for part 2 of this 24-hour readathon. And yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop talking. Bye. Hello, gorgeous friends. Happy Sunday. So we are officially in part 2 of the 24-hour readathon. And as you guys saw in the B-roll, I started reading, I think it was around what, like 6:40 a.m. this morning. I got up around 6, ate some breakfast, and I officially started reading around 6:40. So we will go until 6:40 p.m. today. I am 60% of the way through my 3rd book, and that is Thrown in the Dark by A.K. Caggiano. I did read a little bit of it last night for like that last hour before I finished reading, but I only got like 50 pages in. So truly, I read a bulk of the book today, and you know, I don't know, you guys. This one's tough. This one is tough because I feel like this book has an audience. I feel like this book exists for people who like a rom-com and a fantasy romance, and like if you like those things and you know that you like those things, this is a really good book for that. I think I'm realizing I don't really like comedy in my fantasy. And I haven't read a lot of like rom-com fantasy romances. The closest thing that I can compare Thrown in the Dark to is Assistant to the Villain, which I didn't really like that book. It was like fine, you know, it wasn't terrible or anything. This book, I think it's well written, and this book has had moments, a few cute moments, but overall, I don't feel anything. I'm numb. I don't know what's wrong with me. Am I okay? I don't know. So when I started this book, the first few chapters were actually kind of difficult to get through. There's a lot of intense world building that I didn't really understand, and I did look at some reviews, and that is like par for the course for a lot of people. The first few chapters are kind of tough to get through. So I was like, okay, good, because I was like, man, is it just me? Like, am I just having a tough time with this? But I saw people who absolutely love the book say like, yeah, the beginning is a little bit rough. You just kind of got to get through that world building. Once you get into the traveling, because our two main characters, they accidentally get like magically attached to one another, and they basically go like on this quest together begrudgingly, and then they fall in love, and one is grumpy and one is sunshine. Once things kind of kick off, that's where things get better. And I do think that the story has definitely improved from those first few chapters. And so kind of going back to my earlier point, I think other than Assistant to the Villain, I don't know if I've read like a comedic fantasy romance. Don't get me wrong, I love a little giggle and a little laugh and a little jokester and like some found family in a fantasy romance. I absolutely love that. Like obviously Cassian is very funny. Cal and Kip in the Legends of Besmar series, they definitely bring a lightness and a humor, which I really appreciate. But I think this heavy and this type of humor in this book, sometimes it works for me, but for the most part, I'm just not really as into it. It feels a little bit too cheesy. And the characters do feel like a little young. They are 27 and 25. So when I saw that, I was like, oh cool, they're a little bit older. I hope that lends itself to just a little bit more like mature humor. I don't really know though. I'm just not connecting to it, but I'm 60% of the way through and I just have like a little bit left. So I am gonna finish the book because I'm doing a 24-hour readathon. I want to complete it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Thrown in the Dark. We are just absolutely not killing it this weekend, but I am reading off of my TBR one, which is like very exciting and I'm loving that. And I mean, I'm being, you know, I'm getting through books. Like I'm glad that I tried these books out. I was very curious about all three of them and, you know, they didn't pan out the way that we wanted them to, but you know, we never would have known otherwise. So the research must be done. I don't know what I'm gonna read next. I have like multiple options. I want to be very careful about what my final book of this 24-hour readathon is going to be. I think I'll only have time for one more book after this because it's 11 right now. I'll probably finish Thrown in the Dark around 12:31, and then I'll just have about like 5.5 hours to read. So I want to pick something that isn't too long, and I want to pick something that like I have potential to give like 4 stars to. I'm not even 5 stars is out the window. It's not happening anytime soon. I've just like come to terms with that, but I really do want to pick something that I think is going to be enjoyable and kind of like breathe some new life into me. So I'm going to go continue reading Thrown in the Dark, and then I will come back to you guys. I'll give you guys my final rating, my final review, and then I will show you the options for what my final book for this 24-hour readathon will be. Hey besties, so time for another reading check-in. So it is now 2:45. I finished Thrown in the Dark around like 1:30, 1:45, and then I just took a little bit of a break, and I am now here to give you my final thoughts and then let you know what my next book will be. And my final book will be for the 24-hour readathon. So with the last 40% of the book, there were definitely some fun twists that happened. I will say there was one aspect of the book that I did not see coming. I felt some mystery surrounding this subject, but I didn't expect it to go in that direction. So it's always nice to be surprised by a plot twist. But I think overall, romantic comedy fanro is just not for me. I think that I am just not the reader for this book. I am really glad that I tried this out though, because that's something that I didn't know. So it's always fun, you know, to do the work and find out if a certain type of subgenre is for you. I just didn't really connect with the humor, and I felt that the characters felt like pretty juvenile at times, and it just wasn't my type of read. I'm sitting somewhere between like a 2-star or a 3-star. There were definitely some 3-star moments, and definitely I think some cuter moments between our characters and just like situations they got in. But overall, I don't think that I enjoyed my experience a ton. If you read Assistant to the Villain and you enjoyed that book, you should try Thrown in the Dark, because it did remind me of that book a little bit. Just the like humor and just the type of fantasy that that book is. I feel like it is pretty similar. Although there was some complex world building in at the beginning of Thrown in the Dark, I feel like kind of once things kicked off, it did remind me of Assistant to the Villain a little bit. So if you liked that, you should give this one a shot. I think I'm just not the reader for it, and I think I'm just not like a rom-com fanro girl, but I am glad to have read Thrown in the Dark because I was very curious. Now, moving on to my final book for the 24-hour readathon. We are pivoting, besties. We are doing a hard pivot. I am not going to be reading a fantasy romance just for the last book of this vlog, just because I want to do a little palette cleanse, and I am going to be starting like a new vlog tomorrow tomorrow, a weekly reading vlog, reading fantasy romances. So I think it'll be good for me to just do a little palette cleanser and read something a little bit different. But before I tell you guys what my final book for the vlog will be, I did just want to discuss the 2 books I got in the mail yesterday. So Savor It by Tara DeWitt. I did consider reading this for this vlog. It does sound super cute and I've heard good things. I know it's a new release. I also just, the cover is so beautiful. But there was another book that I saw on my shelves that as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yes, I need to read that. But this book sounds really cute. I'm excited for it. I definitely want to get to it this summer. And then I also received 5 Broken Blades by Mai Corland. This book is really pretty and the edges are so gorgeous. I would love to know if you've read this book, what did you think of it and what did you rate it? I have seen a lot about this book, so much buzz, and it sounds really cool. I mean, it says it's similar to Six of Crows, kind of like a more adult Six of Crows. As I said earlier in the vlog, like that does make me a little bit nervous because Six of Crows is just perfection to me. But overall, I would just love to hear if you've read this book. What did you guys think of it? Let me know down in the comments below. I think I might want to add this book to my July TBR. I was thinking about trying to fit it in June, but I already have like 13 books on my June TBR, so I need to like prioritize though. But I definitely want to hear what you guys think of this book if you've read it, so please let me know. All right, so then my final book for the 24-hour readathon I decided is going to be Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. I am so excited to read this. I feel like this is exactly what I need. This book is going to be a perfect palette cleanser. I've read the first book, Done and Dusted, and I gave it 4 stars and I just really loved it. I had such a good time with it. I really like the way that Lila Sage writes romance and the way that she writes small towns. I think she just makes them very idealistic and just like summery and happy, and that is exactly the vibe that I want right now. So this book follows Weston and Ada. Ada is an interior designer and she has been hired by Weston to help him redesign a house on his family's ranch. It's a goal of his to rebuild this house and refurbish it, so he enlists the help of Ada to do this, and the 2 of them fall in love. They're very much opposites attract. We have reverse Grumpy Sunshine here, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. We did meet Wes in the first book and he was really sweet and wholesome and just so friendly, and I'm really looking forward to meeting like our female kind of like black cat energy character. I think that this is going to be super fun. So with this book, it is, let me see, it's like 300 pages almost exactly. I'm going to try to finish it by the time the readathon is up. So at 6:40, that is when I will be done. Right now it is 2:45. So that gives me like 4 hours. I don't know if I'm gonna finish this in time, but I will try to get as close as possible. I'll definitely want to give you guys my thoughts once I'm just a little bit into it. So I'm gonna go sit down and read this and I will give you guys my thoughts on it in a little bit. Hello friends, I am coming to you with good news and bad news. The bad news is I am not going to be able to finish Swift and Saddled by 6:40. We are approaching our 12-hour mark. I am not done with this book. I'm over halfway, so I've made really good progress, but I'm not gonna be able to finish it in the allotted time. But the good news is I'm having so much fun and I am literally loving this book so much, and I feel like Lila Sage has breathed new life into me. Oh my god, this book is just pure sunshine, pure happiness. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm relating to the female main character so much. I'm really glad that I picked this up. It is just what I needed, the perfect palette cleanser. It is difficult to read 3 books back to back to back and them all be 3 stars. A 3 star is not a bad book. You know, there are much worse books out there, but it doesn't inspire wonderful feelings in me. And so being able to end on a positive book, I mean, I don't know my rating for this book yet because I haven't finished it, but just with the feelings that I have, it feels really good to be ending on a high note. So I did just want to quickly talk about Swift and Saddled. I am going to let you guys know that while I'm not able to finish the book in the time allotted, I'm going to finish this book tomorrow and I'm going to give you guys my final rating because I don't want to leave you hanging, of course, but I won't count it towards like my final page count because I do want to add up all the pages that I read in the 24 hours, and we'll talk about that in the end, but that is something for us to do tomorrow. This book, I think I already told you guys what it's about. Reverse Grumpy Sunshine, opposites attract, and the 2 of them fall in love over this like interior design project that they work on together. So first of all, I love Ada so much. Oh my god, she is so relatable. What I really like about her is she's a little bit more reserved, she's a little bit more shy, and she talks about how that has been something that has been difficult in her life, and she's had some difficulties like connecting with people, making friends, and sometimes her shyness and her reservedness has been seen as a negative, but that's kind of just who she is. And while she doesn't mind, you know, being alone or being solitary at times, she does sometimes struggle with loneliness, and that plays a big factor into her getting to know Wes and his family and her finding her role amongst them. And I find lots of her personality so relatable. I am shy, I'm reserved, I'm definitely a little bit more quiet and guarded. That's just how I am. I've been this way my whole life, and until I really do get to know people, it's a bit hard for me to open up. And I have had some difficulty sometimes connecting with people because I'm shy. I want the words to come out, but it's really hard. And Ada just said so many things that I was like, yes, I totally get that. I have experienced that. And it's really nice to see. I feel like often oftentimes in particularly romance books, but truly any genre, the female main character is so charming and so easily able to make friends, and she just connects with everyone. And it's nice to see Ada be like, no, I kind of struggle with that and it's difficult for me, and it's not seen as a bad thing. Wes takes who Ada is and loves her and accepts her for it, and no one tries to change her. There's nothing for her to do to fit into this group of people. There's nothing about those aspects of her personality that are seen as a negative, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I think that Wes celebrates Ada for who she is, and that just helps her confidence grow, and her finding her place within the Ryder family has been very fun to see. All of the other side characters coming in, becoming Ada's friend, and also accepting her for who she is. So that's been a huge plus for this book. And also this book is just so fun. There is just something so lighthearted and summery and sunshiny and beautiful about the way that Lila Sage writes, and she just makes you feel so good. That is how I felt with Done and Dusted. I cannot wait for the third book. And then I feel like we're getting hints at a fourth book. I thought that the next book that was coming out in this series was going to be the last one, but I think we'll definitely have another one because of some characters that we've met these characters before, but their dynamic I think was more focused on in this book, and I'm really curious to see what happens there. But anyway, this book is going really well. I feel like I'm talking really fast and just like really exuberant because I just feel like Lila Sage did CPR on me, and I am here and I'm alive, and I'm not gonna give this book 3 stars. I can tell you that. So that is where I am at with my 4th book of this 24-hour readathon. So I'm probably gonna end things here for the night, but as I said, I'm just gonna finish this book tomorrow. I want to give you guys my final thoughts on it, and we will do just a final wrap up of the 24-hour readathon as a whole tomorrow. Hello friends, so it is time for me to close out this 24-hour readathon. It is the next day, the readathon is over, and I wanted to give you all my final thoughts and rating for Swift and Saddled. So even though I wasn't able to get it done in the time allotted, I did end up finishing it, and I really loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. I'm so happy to have ended this vlog on a high note. This book was really strong for me. I think I might have even liked it more than Done and Dusted. I just really connected to Ada. I thought she was such a great character, and the themes explored in this book were really fantastic as well. Our male main character does struggle with mental illness, and that was explored in a way that I think was very relatable. I just love the two of them together. I cannot wait for the 3rd book, which is going to be Gus and Teddy's story. It is going to be like the ultimate enemies to lovers. I can't wait. I think that comes out this fall, and I will definitely be picking it up right away. So I decided to tally up the number of pages read for my 24-hour readathon. I've never done that before, but between the 3 full books that I completed and then part of Swift and Saddled, my total pages read was 1,216 pages, which is absolutely crazy and so fantastic. And just thinking about that number blows me away. So in review, the first 24-hour readathon of 2024, it was interesting. It went in a direction I think none of us could have expected, which was a lot of 3-ish star reads. I don't know if that's ever happened to me before in a 24-hour readathon, but regardless, I'm glad I tried all these books out. They can't all be winners. They can't all be Swift and Saddled, but I had a really good time pushing myself. It's always fun to do these type of reading challenges in vlogs. All right, friends, so that is going to be it for this 24-hour readathon. If you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know, go ahead and leave 3-star emojis. And please make sure that you're following me on Instagram and Goodreads. They are always linked down below. Also, please make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. YouTube has told me that a 1/3 of you who watch my videos are not subscribed, and we need to fix that immediately. Join the Angel Bestie crew. We have a very good time here discussing all things fantasy romance. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you're having a fantastic day. I love you all so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.